the question was,
And this is, by the way, everyone knows this, right? Tara Reade accused Joe Biden of sexually assaulting her and sexually harassing her back in the 90s. And
right.
Ryan was the first person to write about it. I had Tara Reade on the show. And the media took, we have to do an entirely different episode on this. And Jack, you and I can talk about this after. But like the media took a ridiculously long amount of time to get to the story. And Ryan, of course, as someone who broke the Blasey Ford story, saw that firsthand, that discrepancy firsthand. But let's just focusing for right now on what this new article, what your new piece
Right.
goes through. And feel free,
Right. So,
if the comments are distracting, you can go full screen so you don't see them, and we'll get the good ones.
oh,
Oh, good. Okay, good.
I don't even see the comments. So apologies to anybody
No,
that
no, no.
thinks that I
Yeah.
might be ignoring them. And so the question was, did she graduate from undergrad? And actually, from a journalistic perspective, that's actually tends to be a fairly easy question to answer. And if you're writing a profile of somebody or you're investigating somebody, it's oftentimes one of the first calls you make. When I was profiling Ambassador Yusuf Al Otaiba, who is the United Arab Emirates ambassador, and this plays this outsider's role in Washington D.C., one of the most powerful guys in town. He had said he graduated from Georgetown University. So while I was reporting that story, I called Georgetown. All you have to do is call the registrar, and you say, "Did so and so graduate? Here's their last name, here's their first name," and they're supposed to answer that yes or no. They're not supposed to give you any records, any transcripts, any details, but they can tell you whether or not they graduated. And I think they can tell you whether or not what their major was. And Georgetown was like, actually, no, he didn't graduate. So I got a nice little nugget in the story that this ambassador had been saying he was graduating, but in fact he hadn't. So one reason that it took a very long time for this to emerge with Tara Reade and Antioch is that she graduated from law school, and therefore you would check with the law school. Yeah, here's her law degree. But you can't get into law school without going to college, and so journalists, including myself, for a month or more, just took for granted that she had an undergraduate degree. And it was also kind of beside the point. If somebody has a law school degree, what are you even wondering about the undergraduate degree? You're beyond that at that point. It's like if somebody has a PhD trying to figure out if they have a master's, like, well,
right. Or if they went to kindergarten, elementary school. I mean, do you try to find out the full educational history of a subject?
Right. And so Antioch tells CNN first that she did not graduate. And when CNN asked Tara Reade about this, she said, I was in this protected program and I had gone through a legal name change. And so it was difficult for them to match my old Social Security number with my new one and to match up all the credits. And there was an arrangement made between Antioch and the law school where the degree was conferred, privately that way. CNN took that back to Antioch, and Antioch said there was no protected program. And so it's, so that from CNN's perspective there, and anybody reading that story, they're throwing one lie on top of another. What Tara meant was that she was in this protective program, not that the program was part of Antioch. And in fact, there are court documents that show she got the legal name change, that there was this program run through these domestic violence shelters where she moved, from California up to Seattle. So that program did exist. Tara got, through the help of a lawyer, she got access to her academic files, which took a fairly long time. And there is evidence in those files of communication between Antioch and her law school that backs up her claim that that because of the way that this was unfolding, there was some special private arrangement made. But the documents are not conclusive one way or the other about what happened. But it is fairly conclusive to the fact that you can't say with any authority that she was lying and putting on some just fabrication around this whole thing. Like it roughly matches up. Now the records are incomplete and it's a little inconclusive, but it's close enough to what she said that you can't say that she's just making this up.
Yeah. So I mean, the New York Times, just to be clear, well, actually, I have a question. Why did they even look into the undergrad? They were just going through, like.
Well, they were calling everybody, who she'd ever interacted with, and so when you make a dive that deep, you're going to call. I would assume that they reached out to the university.
And did they have did they do that with Christine Blasey Ford? Did they talk to her undergraduate?
I highly doubt it, because in her case too, like, she's a professor at like a Stanford affiliated school. So like, you just wouldn't think to go back to her undergrad and and say, did she graduate from undergrad? Like, so I doubt it. Maybe they did though, and we never heard about it because the answer was yes. Presumably the answer was yes. I mean, she also went. Everybody knew she went to, what was the name of the school? Like one of these fanciest Washington D.C. Prep schools.
Right.
So nobody would assume that she somehow became a professor while not graduating from undergrad. And also, if she did, like, good for her.
Good grip.
I mean,
so what?
Is this not like on the law school or something? You know what I mean?
Right,
like that's like kind
thing,
of how I feel. Like, is like, if you apply to law school, they probably are checking on the records of where you graduated. Like, is it truly that easy? Can you skip college? Typically, I guess is what I'm asking. Could I, for example, if I wrote a letter, get into med school? As someone who dropped out of screenwriting college.
Right, and she got her law degree records, and in her law school records, there are copies of emails between the dean and the registrar there saying, hey, like, because somebody in the registrar's office flagged it and said, hey, we don't have a degree on file here, and then there's an email that says, the dean was brought in just to let you know this has been arranged, don't worry about it, and the person's like, oh well, I will. Would you like me to apologize to her? I'm sorry for flagging this. I didn't realize that there was some separate arrangement. So So right there in the law school records, and the law school has dropped its suggestion that they're going to revoke the law degree, and the prosecutors have said that they're not filing any perjury charges.